This is Ripindra and his brother MyGame43, and in case you've been living under a rock, they are the developers of the largest game on Roblox by far, Blox Fruits. Amassing nearly 18 billion visits, this duo has created a game that consistently maintains player counts in the hundreds of thousands, all starting from their humble beginnings in their garage. The brothers got their start with Roblox development from nearly the beginning of the platform, with MyGame43 releasing a temple run style game over 10 years ago. There isn't a ton of information online regarding their early life, but I'm assuming they worked on numerous projects over the past 10 years behind the scenes. After creating their game studio, Gamer Robot, they released a few moderately successful games, with their first big hit being a game called Elemental Wars. The duo then went on to release a hugely revamped version of the game called Elemental Battlegrounds. Elemental Battlegrounds was a fun fighting game that was an instant hit. It offered a unique twist compared to other games at the time due to its combination of traditional melee mechanics with powerful magical abilities and spells. Gaining over 400 million visits to date, this game laid the foundation for Blox Fruits as we know it. It's January 16th, 2019, the day that Blox released their open beta. Combining an addictive gameplay loop with their existing fanbase from previous games, Blox shot up in popularity almost overnight. The brothers pushed constant updates while consistently squashing bugs, which resulted in a fantastic gameplay experience that encouraged players to keep coming back. The long, grind-filled progression allowed players to stay on for hours. Farming bosses for rare drops and progressing through the quest lines and more were all just stepping stones to be able to compete where the game truly shines, the PvP. Now we are going to fast forward to November 2019, the month that Blox's biggest update so far would come out, the Second Sea update, bringing a host of new quests, a higher level cap, and a massive new island archipelago to explore brought old and new players alike back to the game. The addition of a brand new honor system heavily incentivized PvP, thus adding a whole new section of the game to begin grinding, as PvP previously wasn't very incentivized. As my friend Pierre put it, before bounty was added, the entire premise of PvP was essentially I'm better so die. The game was reaching new highs at around this time, averaging over 10,000 players, which at the time was absolutely insane. However, amidst all this success, there was just one problem: copyright. The game was nearly one-to-one with the actual anime One Piece, meaning that the developers could possibly encounter huge copyright issues, resulting in their game getting taken down permanently. Fruits, characters, and more were all ripped directly from the anime, and this made Blox Fruits a prime target for copyright takedown. This all stemmed from a massive copyright wave that was taking out Roblox anime games all over the platform. And to ensure this didn't happen, various anime game devs all hurriedly changed their names to deviate further from the animes. King Peace became King Legacy, Whitebeard became Greybeard, Doflamingo became Don Swan, and Blox became Blox Fruits. Nearly every fruit, weapon, and NPC in the game received name changes to avoid the copyright takedowns. Around this time is where the game as we know it began to take shape. The Blox Fruits Discord server was growing faster than ever, and the game virtually doubled its player base. Indra and MyGame would go on to release more and more updates, adding more islands to the Second Sea and allowing you to awaken your fruits, essentially unlocking more powerful versions of the existing fruit by completing fun new raids. Fruit awakenings were a way for the devs to introduce quote-unquote new content without having to add more fruits. And initially, there were only 3 fruits that had awakenings, but this quickly changed over time as more and more updates were released, each bringing either a new fruit awakening, or more weapons and islands. It's now the end of 2020, and the dev team finally added a host of in-game events for Blox Fruits, with a small Halloween update in October and a larger Christmas event in December. The Christmas event was pretty substantial, revamping parts of the map and adding a new currency called candies that were obtainable from defeating enemies. You could then head over to a Christmas elf NPC and exchange these candies for various rewards, like Santa-themed items, XP boosts, stat rerolls, and other items typically locked behind Robux paywalls. And now began the first of Blox Fruits' infamous downtimes. These were periods months at a time where the game received few, if any, updates. In fact, there were only 4 updates throughout the entirety of 2021, with one of them being mostly bug fixes and 2 being reskinned event updates from the previous year. However, amidst the sea of lackluster updates, the last of these 4 updates would prove to be one of the most substantial additions the game had ever seen. The third sea update was released on September 9th, 2021, and brought with it a brand new massive area to explore. The update also further increased the level cap to 2,000, which was nearly a 500 level increase, meaning players had a ton of grinding thing to do if they wanted to stay competitive. Brand new missions and quest lines led players to seek out legendary weapons or even fight Indra, a boss directly inspired by one of the developers. Higher level players and new players alike all had content that kept the game interesting and fresh, which caused more and more players to check out the game. Additionally, the devs added a host of new fruit to the game in this update, including Venom, Spin, Door, Kilo, and more. The Buddha Awakening was also a new addition, which made grinding immensely easier for newer players if they could manage to get someone to carry them. These much needed expansions caused Blox Fruits to explode in popularity. Surging to over 100k concurrent players for the first time since its release, Blox Fruits has maintained similar or even better numbers all the way until today. Blox Fruits was gaining tens of millions of players every single day, but it would all come crashing down soon enough. And so, Blox Fruits' infamous year-long content drought began. My Game and Indra again put out few, if any, updates, so longtime players who had beat the game, maxed out their bounty, and PvP'd for hundreds of hours began to get bored. Although Blox Fruits maintained its record-breaking player counts, they were losing the most important players, those who had been there since the beginning. After the third sea, the only updates players saw were again reskinned holiday updates with a few fruits and awakenings sprinkled in the mix. The devs would increase the level cap by 100 every so often to bring some players back, but people were beginning to get frustrated. And thus began what I would consider to be the single most important update Blox Fruits has ever seen. Update 17.3, the revamp update, was the third part of a year-long saga of updates. Longtime critics to Blox Fruits were always quick to point out how lackluster the game's animations were compared to other anime games, as they had been largely untouched since the game's release. However, this update would silence the critics, bringing a complete graphical revamp of many fruits. Players took to Twitter, astounded by these beautiful new fruit animations. I mean, just take a look at Awakened Dough and tell me these animations don't get you feeling some type of way. It seemed as though this was the one piece, no pun intended, missing that Blox Fruits needed, and on September 10th, 2022, Blox Fruits shot up to over 500,000 concurrent users. Here's the insane part. This wasn't just one-time hype due to the update, this game would actually maintain 300 to 600k concurrent players from then on until today. Blox Fruits was soaring to new heights in popularity, and the developers have not let up on the gas since. The emerging YouTube scene was a vital part of this newfound success. It allowed Blox Fruits to attract an audience outside of Roblox, mostly appealing to the millions of people worldwide who love One Piece. When you think about it, how many times have you thought to yourself, I really wish there was an open world RPG game for Star Wars, Demon Slayer, etc. Whatever your fandom may be, One Piece fans saw that My Game and Indra had created the game they had been hoping for years and hopped on the bandwagon immediately. Dozens of careers were created seemingly out of nowhere as all the biggest Blox Fruits content creators began to blow up overnight. Many YouTubers began to receive special perks in the game, one being a unique title that players could only get through defeating them in-game. However, a toggle switch was added that allowed YouTubers to choose whether or not defeating them would grant a title, and this resulted in many content creators being losers, sorry guys, by exclusively reserving the titles for giveaways and content streams. I still think that overall this was a pretty cool addition, although it's sad that people had to ruin it just to keep their title rare. I mean, if you want your title to be rare, why wouldn't you just, actually get good at the game? Anyways, I digress. Next, to further aid new players in their quest to complete the game, My Game and Indra created a confetti event for Blox Fruits' anniversary. This event allowed veterans and newbies alike to collect a currency called confetti, similar to the holiday events, through talking to NPCs. You could then take your confetti over to a special NPC that would restock OP fruits, XP boosts, and more. Not too bad for talking to a few NPCs. Since then, the developers have been steadily releasing updates, including the Race V4 update and the Valentine's event. There has even been a series of tweets outlining the plan for Blox Fruits' future, suggesting that there will be a pivot to more RPG-style gameplay through a series of updates this year. Overall, I think it's quite clear that Blox Fruits is unquestionably the largest game on the platform. The developers have proved time and time again how consistent they can keep the game's numbers, and I think that it's very impressive how they've averaged over 300,000 players for around a year now. And with that, I give you the story of Blox Fruits.